Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to another Glasses Off, another episode of the Rabbinic Cynic. I'm waiting for my friend Mark Gregg, who's going to be joining me. And he says, hey, he has to click the other link so he can get on. This is all technology, baby. I'm just telling him right now to click the new link so he can get on. This is what happens. Click new link. And I'm live. And so today we're going to be talking about, while I'm waiting for Mark, we're going to be talking about, this is another installment of Sympathy for the Devil. And the question is, what does that exactly mean, sympathy for the devil? There's this, hey, Mark has just joined our stream. I'm going to add Mark to the stream. So Mark's going to explain it. Let Mark explain it. How you doing, Mark?
Good. I missed what I'm explaining.
Are you hearing an echo?
Nope. How's
No
it sound
headphones?
to you? Sound
You
okay?
don't
I've
need
got
headphones?
earbuds in.
Oh, you got earbuds in. So you don't see the headphones. That's good. I like that.
Well, yeah, man. I don't want to mess my hair up.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't know about that. I haven't had hair in years.
Did I tell you how good you look on this show? It's amazing.
Aw. You want to get married?
You're adorable. There's always room for one more over here, you know.
There's nothing like losing 80 pounds.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt.
I got to lose another. I got a little bit more to lose, but I
I
lost
know.
a small child.
Yeah, you look good, buddy.
It's called the. It was called the. I don't know what diet it was. Not eating after 8 and watching what you eat. So this is a redux of last week's episode, but we're going to do it a little different. Probably do it the same. So I'm going to let Mark explain what we discussed a little bit last week, what your premise is, right? We're calling this sympathy for the devil. We're talking about this idea of Satan. What is Satan worship, right?
Sympathy for the devil. That was the episode, right?
Sympathy for the devil. And this is, yeah. I like it as kind of like a almost a mini series, right? But
yeah,
we were talking about, it's
got that Rolling Stones tie-in, you know, we're both big Rolling Stones fans.
That was originally going to be the name of the show, actually. It was Sympathy for the Rabbi. But I changed, my son came up with Rabbinic Cynic because
that's pretty good.
It's kind of I got smart kids. I just felt more appropriate, and rabbis don't need any sympathy, really, especially this one.
Considering you're taking over the world, you guys.
Really?
little Protocols of Zion humor in there.
Uh-oh. Nah, that's all right. I know you're kidding. There's no such thing as a Protocols of Zion. Just everyone, Mark is kidding. He does not believe in Protocols of Zion.
I know that it's a hoax. I know that
it is a hoax. We
do
not
history and the whole deal about that.
I tell you, the Jewish people, we really did wish we controlled a lot more than we do, but unfortunately, there's not enough.
Who the hell doesn't?
Huh?
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? And that brings us to, what is this idea of the Church of Satan and the secularism that you were discussing, the allyship and the role of religion? I think there's an overarching influence of religion that we find in our government, which obviously has not been productive. As fact has led politicians who may not even believe in anything or have faith to kind of cynically declare their faith, right? So we've had these conversations about the idea that the Church of Satan, is it really Satan worship, or is it something else? So I'm going to give it over to you, Mark, to explain your position.
Okay. The Church of Satan, as I understand it, I'm not a member actually. I wanted to join, but they it's like a $250 joining fee, and I didn't feel like spending that money, but I probably will. I mean, I'm still checking out what kind of work they do, but basically, it's an anti anti-theist, anti-religious organization. It's an organization, and that's what appealed to me, because I'm an atheist. I don't believe in gods or devils. But atheists don't have, we don't have, or non-theists, atheists, agnostics, non-churchgoers are not organized. We're not represented in the government at all. There's like one person that's non-theist in Congress, and that's not reflective of what the culture is. So there are so many
Bernie Sanders?
Pardon me?
That'd be Bernie Sanders?
No, I wanted to say that a name, but I think I'm wrong, so I don't have my notes here. So I was late for this because of something that came up this morning that I had to deal with. But no, I'm not going to say the name because I'll be wrong. But
okay.
But there's only one person in Congress, according to the Pew research that I read, and the culture, it's more like, I don't know, it's 10% maybe, or agnostic and atheist, and maybe 20 some percent. I'm pulling numbers out of my butt now, and maybe 20 some percent are not affiliated with any church at all. That's still overwhelmingly a believing society. But in Congress, it's something like 80 some percent are evangelical Christians, and this just, and as a result, we've got Roe versus Wade has been overturned, and we're going backward towards a culture that is not egalitarian, and that's just wrong to me. And we don't have, and atheists don't have an organization. Church of Satan is it, because it's a religion. I think atheism, actually, I was against calling atheism a religion because it was sort of a pejorative to me, being that I don't believe. But I'm changing my opinion on that maybe atheism does need a religious arm, so we have those protections and we can express ourselves in the public square, antithetical to what the Christians are doing, which is taking over.
Wouldn't you say the First Amendment would cover that, the freedom of speech?
But if you're not organized, you don't have a voice.
Right, that's true.
And we're not organized, and that's a drag. And the reason.
My argument with atheism is, I got no problem. I know there are a lot of Jews that were members of my congregation that were atheists, and they culturally consider themselves Jewish. It's, Judaism has a very weird relationship with the absolute idea that there's a God, right? What does God mean? And so, but atheists, and I know a few, but they argue just as vociferously for their belief in, not necessarily belief or lack of, not necessarily, I won't say lack of belief, but it's a belief in science, so to speak, science, only science, that there is no.
It is a belief. It is a belief. Yeah, it's a belief. I mean, you have to have faith that your feet are going to hit the ground and the gravity's going to work and that sort of things. But it's based on evidence is the difference, as whereas the religion's not based on evidence. Sorry, it just isn't.
No, religion's not. No, yes, absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. As a rabbi, my evidence of, I take my belief in God as a matter of, God, I don't, and even the word God I don't like either, because it's an English word. It doesn't even. There's 72 different names of God in Judaism, and they all represent different attributes, right? Yeah. And they all represent different attributes of trying to explain the world that we live in, right?
It's like love or something. What do you?
There's love.
What does that mean?
There's strength, gvura. There's all these different words.
Right.
There's Adonai, right? The Jehovah that is very popular. El, which can be multiple. There's multiple genders of God. God is female and masculine.
Yeah, see, it becomes meaningless, because if you have too many definitions for a word, it doesn't mean anything anymore.
Well, it does, because it means different attributes of society, different attributes of understanding the human condition. That's how, that again, and I'm speaking as from my perspective of Judaism, that these are all different attributes of understanding the universe, from a philosophical perspective rather than from a scientific perspective. From the scientific perspective, I look at science, I think science has quantified and so this is the proof. We can prove that this exists, right? We know that there are black holes, right? Black holes there's no light. That's why a black hole exists. We know that the universe.
Science is a method. It's a way of
Right.
testing things and stuff like that. So it's not an end in itself. It's just an ongoing method. So, it's just the best that we have for discovering and proving and things like that. It doesn't know anything and it doesn't know everything. That's for damn sure.
Right.
But it's just the best method that we have right now. Maybe something better will come along someday, but not in my lifetime, I'm sure.
I think the problem with organized religion, and I've always said, I don't believe in organized, I believe in disorganized, right? So the problem with organized religion is you've got people, men, mostly men, and that historically speaking,
that's a problem
saying
right there.
that this is absolutely true. This is the absolute truth. If you don't believe in it, you're a heretic, you're going to hell, whatever it is. This is in Judaism, the ultra-Orthodox always usually say, your soul is going to be cut off from the divine presence when you die. But at the same time, there are passages in Talmud that said everybody gets a share in the next world. So what is it? Is your soul
back
cut off?
up. What you described, the former is fascism. All right, that's what it is. Do it my way. My way is the only way. My way or else. If they can get enough power, they'll enforce it, like we've seen in history, and that's just how it is. If religion were not fascistic, there would be no need for the Satanic Church, in my opinion.
But think about it this way: communism is a atheistic belief system, right? It's an ism. It's an atheistic ism, and equally as destructive as religion that has been forced down people's throats, right? Say, you want to talk about religious states, for example.
I don't want atheism forced down my throat either.
No, exactly. Exactly. So that brings us right. So I think we're in agreement, right? So it's like everyone should be entitled to have their own beliefs, right? Whether that's I believe in science.
That's how the exclusion clause in the First Amendment was supposed to be. Supposedly, my understanding is there's no tests for religion, and Jefferson saying that the intent was to erect a wall between church and state. And now you've got these politicians who want to tear that down and saying, no, that's not what it meant. And they want to leave it up to the people to decide whether there's a state religion or a national religion. And that goes against what the Constitution originally intended in a lot of people's opinions.
Yeah, I mean, the founding fathers, they say, were deists, right? So yeah, I mean,
they didn't enforce that either. It was no religion. We were basically a secular state, but look what's happening, and that's why that, going back to what your original question about the Church of Satan, is that it is a church and it has all those protections that a church has. Atheism doesn't have that, and maybe it should.
Yeah, I mean, it comes. There are a number of different Supreme Court cases. One example, I forgot the name of the actual case, but one was the use of peyote. I believe he was worked in home care, I believe, and he was an alcoholic. Former alcoholic, and he used the ritual use of peyote as an indigenous American as a way to cure his alcoholism. And it did, and it helped him. But he got fired from his job because he was using this ritualistic use of peyote as a way for self-improvement, as a way to get rid of the addiction. So the Supreme Court turned around and said, I think it was in the state of Oregon. It was in the state of Oregon. And the Supreme Court came along and said, "No, this is a no." I think they overturned it. I can't remember exactly, but what it did was it established a precedent that Christianity does not necessarily that's not the only differentiation of church and state, but rather it's any religion. Right, and we see that. And I think when we come to Roe versus Wade as a good example of that, Judaism states that birth begins at the first breath. Right, I mean, life begins at birth, at the first breath.
Sure.
So by saying the life of the mother takes precedence. So by saying
personhood, there's life.
Abortion, you're infringing upon my religious freedom. So I think you're right.
And I would nitpick that a little bit in saying that no, a fetus is life, but it's personhood. It's a person. Or
It's the
you're not a
potential of
person
life.
until
Yeah.
you breathe. Your personhood, not because life is life, right? So even a cluster of cells could denotate life, but it's part of a person. So personhood at breath.
Sentience,
First
so
breath.
to speak. The idea of sentience. And last week you talked a little bit about allyship, and we live in a very polarized society, right? So, is the goal to stop the polarization? Is it an us and them situation, or are we looking at there's a silent majority out there that really does just want to get along with everybody?
I feel like we're being attacked by the religious right. So when you're being attacked, you rally and defend yourself. And this is what allyship is about. It's about rallying and defending yourself from this. And that means that even people who are not philosophically in tune on everything still need to get behind each other. But I think this is a huge subject, okay? Because allyship, in my opinion, is not one thing, it's everything. Allyship means that you are going to help those who are less fortunate, those who are put women who are treated like, well, Roe versus Wade, like cattle, unfortunately, and minorities. There still is not equality there. Gay people still do not have the acceptance and the equality, even though they've made major strides. And they're a perfect example of what you can do when you organize. I totally admire what they did. They opened the door for the rest of us. Women did too. But women have kind of gone backward a little bit compared to where they were at, during after the suffragette period. In the whatever that was, the 1930s.
We have a lot of women vociferously fighting against, were a big part of overturning Roe versus Wade.
Well, it could be. It concerns them directly, but a lot of women are not fighting, and they don't have allyship with other women. And if they did, this would never stand. If the majority of women, or even just a few more women, backed women on this, it wouldn't be like this. But they have they've sided with the culture, the patriarchal culture, and the Make America Great Again culture, where we're going again backward. It's like we have to go forward, not backward. Backward. What's backward? Who's that good for?
Well, that's this. I think that's.
What is the past good for? Who is it good for? You got to ask yourself that question. Who's it good? It's good for me. I'm a white, culturally Christian man, old man, middle-aged man. Yeah, it's good for me. I could go back in time and be fine. But who could you? Can women? Can Black people? What was so great about that?
No, it wasn't.
Why do we want to go back? Why do we want to go back there?
The country clubs out here, right? They started Tamara's Country Club. Said no Jews, no Blacks, no Mexicans, right? That was. I don't want to go back there.
Is that great?
I want to be a member of a country club.
No, yeah, but exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying is we have to go forward. We have a long ways to go, and we're not going to get there unless we organize and we have allyship and we are organized. And the problem with not being, to me, I see it as, in this country, the Christians have taken over, and they intend to take over, and they'll do anything they can. You can see Donald Trump cheating and lying, and they don't.
Well, I think we're talking about extreme. The extreme.
It's not though. It's not though, because if you are silent, then all you're doing is opening the door for them, and you're complicit too.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
So by not saying anything, you're agreeing to the current situation, basically.
But there are plenty of people of faith who are standing up and saying things.
Who?
I can number of my rabbinical friends, for starters. And then I know a number of clergy, Christian clergy, Episcopalians out here, moderate Episcopalians.
It's not the majority, and it's not even close to half. It's a minority of people, and that's not right.
It's still better than nothing, right?
Well, yeah,
maybe more needs to stand up.
It's better. Look. It's our fault that we're not organized. It's our fault that it's this late in the game and we don't have any power. We don't have a game at all. We have nothing because we don't do anything. If you don't do anything and you don't organize, what can you expect except to lose to those that are?
Well, where did the civil rights movement begin? The civil rights movement, a lot of the impetus started in churches.
Things change. Yeah, well, Republicans used to be the anti-slavery party. Things change. Yeah.
Things do change, but I think there's still a lot of social justice organizations within, black churches, for example, within Reform and conservative synagogues, within the more moderate Muslim community, a lot of the Muslim community.
Hey, I'm not advocating getting rid of churches or stopping people from believing.
No, but you're saying that they're silent.
Well, it's not even silent. They just work in their lane where they work, where you have places where you belong and places where you don't belong. And you don't belong in my daughter's womb. You don't belong there.
Absolutely.
You don't belong in my daughter's health. You don't belong. You don't belong in allowing states to go back to Jim Crow. You don't belong there.
Well, people need to stand up against that. Everybody does.
Absolutely.
No matter what your faith.
I agree.
I mean,
and unfortunately, the only way to do that is to accept the fact that you're being attacked and organize. Otherwise, you're going to get what you get, which is you're going to lose. And we're losing on a lot of fronts to a minority. Except it's not a minority.
That's the thing. There was I believe there was a poll that looked at the majority of even Republicans were kind of shocked at the overturning of Roe and the extreme kind of that extremist, the way the Supreme Court is really
but see, what do you mean by shocked? Shocked that they would.
No, I'm saying that they're pro-choice,
potentially politically damaging. Or shocked because it goes against their beliefs.
They believe the majority of them are pro-choice. That was the poll. I can't cite you where the poll.
I saw that. I saw that poll, but I don't think the majority of Christians are pro-choice. Not the majority.
Majority of evangelicals, possibly.
Yeah, possibly.
I mean, because there's there's a lot of.
But think about it. If what you're saying is true, I mean, like in the spirit of it as well as the act, however they worded the poll, then that's even worse. I mean, why do we have an activist Supreme Court who can do these kind of things and leave it up to the state? That's not okay. You can't leave stuff up to the state like that. You can't leave up whether blacks are allowed to vote.
Right, because you're going to get states that decide they shouldn't.
Yeah, it's not right.
Well, there's already concerted effort to disenfranchise huge swaths of the population, make it more and more difficult to vote. And they say vote is fraud.
Right, and even that is something of a normal political game, as terrible as it is. But when you go backward and women are going to die, especially poor black women in certain states because they can't afford to travel like rich people do. It's not just white people, but it really is kind of an economic divider there. But look at the numbers of who are still economically on the bottom rungs. It's disproportionately minorities and women, and these are all and problems that have to be addressed, but in the first place, we have to stop the attack, and that's going to take some organization, and we're just not organized. And what allyship is to me is that if an organization comes up and is fighting for your rights, and you don't like what they stand for, politically, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. You got to get on board and figure it out, because you don't, unless you have something better. Which is great. I'll jump on something better. The whole Satanism thing is silly. But the freedom of religion, to me, religion is all silly. Show me a religion whose core beliefs are not silly. There isn't one. They're always based on, show me one.
Well, I think it depends what you say. What are the core beliefs?
Core beliefs.
I think the core belief of Judaism is treating your fellow human being as you'd want yourself to be treated.
You think Moses part of these waters? You think Moses part of these waters and they all walk?
I think it's a metaphor.
Those are core beliefs.
That's a metaphor. No, that metaphor.
It's a core belief that God does these miraculous things on earth.
They're metaphors for understanding creation.
No, okay, I can dig that it's a metaphor, but I don't think most people believe that. They believe it literally.
Yeah, but I'm saying the core aspect of Judaism is about how you treat your fellow human being. That's the core. That's the core. There was there's a little story that's told in the Talmud. It says a potential convert to Jew. We don't proselytize. We don't really. Why would you want to be Jewish, right? So this convert comes to this rabbi back in Talmudic times, like in the early 300s, 400s, actually before that. And he goes to two different schools of thought. One goes like, teach me the entire Torah, teach me the entire tenets of Judaism standing on one foot. And so the first Rabbi Shammai said to him, get the fuck out of here. And then so the same convert then went to Rabbi Hillel. And Rabbi Hillel turned around to Rabbi Hillel and said, teach me the entire Torah standing on foot. And he goes, do unto others you have done unto yourself. And the rest is just commentary. Right? That's how we believe. That's what we believe is the core tenet of our.
I've read the Bible and I've read some other Abrahamic texts, and there's a lot of stuff in there that's silly. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you can call it all a metaphor. But what's the point of having a metaphor based on something ridiculous? I mean, and why can't it change when you have better evidence? Why don't the metaphors change?
Well, the metaphors do change. That's why not
in the books they don't.
That's why you can't just read the Bible. Judaism, we don't read the Bible. You have to read it with the commentary. You have to read it for your time. There are commentators.
Right. They have to tell you that what it means is not what it means.
No, it's not. Ridiculous. And first of all, the Bible that you read is not even the right translation of the Bible.
Oh, trust me, I'm aware of it.
It's a Greek translation from the Hebrew.
I get that it's been edited and books have been left. And anyways, it doesn't matter because there's no original canon anyways. Because it's all bullshit anyways. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. But people do take it, and even the politicians and the evangelicals, the people who are voting believe it.
Well, that's what when you take it literally, that's the problem. Right.
Believe it too, because they're the ones that get voted for. There are tests that these believers have for these politicians, and if they don't think they're legitimate believers, they won't get voted in. So yeah, I think that they are believers, and I think that it's disproportionate. And we're not organized, and we need help. We need allyship. I'm not advocating for the Church of Satan, except that's all there is. What else is there? There's no Church of Atheism. There's no Church of Rational Thinking. There's no Church of Dawkins. Boy, I'd join that church in a heartbeat if it was organized.
Maybe
you had a rational lens or filter. We don't have that, so everybody's left to their own devices, which leaves us disorganized and fractured and inefficient and at the mercy of these bastards.
I think any kind of extremism, you're right. I mean, the problem is, look, the United States Senate, for example, right? We know that it was part of the 1787 Constitutional Convention, and the whole compromise that decided, let's get rid of proportional representation, right? Because you can't really trust the masses to really make the decisions. So they created this disproportionate representation of the Senate, where you can have a tiny little state that has maybe a very small percentage of the population. Where if you look at New York and California together, right, represent pretty much most of the good proportion of the country. Yet there's still only 4 senators representing that, right? So millions and millions. California, one of the biggest economies in the world, only has 2 senators. So then you have so there's a litmus test for senators that they've got to show, they've got to show that they worship in church, or they've got to show that they have a certain amount of faith, and they have to be careful if they don't, because they're worried about losing their voters and a lot of being associated. It's just very disingenuous.
And obviously, rational people and religious people are voting for them too, and rational or atheists it's so drilled into us that somehow being religious makes you a better person somehow. And as we see over and over and over and over and over again, that's not true. In fact, there's an argument to be made that the opposite is true.
Well, I think it's good. As Stevie Wonder said, there's good and bad everybody, right? So it's like I think that there are very good human beings who are atheists, and there are very good human beings who are people of faith. I mean, it's
Absolutely. And there are allies on the religious side. I'm not saying.
I just lost your audio, Mark. Mark, I can't hear you. You got muted. We're having earbud issues, so this is earbud issue time. So we're talking about this idea of allyship, and the Stevie Wonder's concept is good, bad, and everyone. Your microphone seems to be muted. Hit unmute mic. There you go.
Yay! I guess you won that argument.
I was just doing Stevie Wonder again. There's good and bad in everyone.
He's so great, man.
We learn to live, each other.
Talk about it.
McCartney. Him and McCartney wrote that together, right?
Music, man. That's the only true
music, right?
That's the only true language that's really for all of us, spiritual, however you want to put it, that connects us all.
It is. It's a language without words.
And there's no lies in it. You can't lie in music.
Well, it depends on the band.
Yeah, but
even then,
either it sounds good or it doesn't. Either
what
it's
do
good
I
or
really
it's not.
think,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So I mean, what about dissonance? Dissonance is not a lie either, is it?
Black Sabbath can throw a flat 5 in there and make it sound good.
Oh, yeah, the devil interval. We love the devil interval there. I love it.
Bow, bow, bow.
Awesome. Maybe Nick, we're gonna have to do like a little live performance together of War Pigs.
That would be rad. We'll do it. Let's do it in a major key. like they did Hamilton.
Hamilton, that was great.
Did you read about that? That a church did Hamilton and changed the lyrics to like Christian themes. And they're getting sued now by the producers or the writers of the Hamilton.
It's interesting. The same thing with Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, right? If you listen to Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, so the way it sounds very blasphemous, and when he's talking, because there's all these biblical metaphors, and maybe there's a God above. He doesn't, all I never know from love is how to shoot somebody that outdrew you, and so the Hallelujah is a song that is Leonard Cohen's melody is used in a lot of synagogues and churches, but what they do is they change the lyrics. They change the lyrics to make them sound. I've never did that when I performed it because I thought it was a very perfect example of Jewish values and Jewish beliefs, even though maybe there's a God above. Yet that's a very Jewish idea to question that, right? We're told to question. Yeah. And so changing those lyrics, changing something that was written by an artist, the lyrics, especially in a song, just to fit with your worldview, it's kind of missing the point, right?
Well, isn't that Christianity's stock and trade?
Judaism does the same thing with Hallelujah.
Christmas trees, Easter, the seasons that they do
it's called cultural misappropriation.
Right. Cultural misappropriation. Hey, I've heard Christians do "Imagine" by John Lennon, and that's hilarious because it is such a imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. It's antithetical to religion.
Well, I think Imagine's a very Jewish song. John Lennon was Jewish, you can tell. No, he wasn't. I'm just kidding. He's honorary. Paul McCartney actually, ironically, is now.
Is he?
All his kids are.
Can I be Jewish?
He
with
goes
this
to a
guy?
synagogue in Los Angeles.
I have to go.
Yeah.
My nose is red.
Your nose is red. I know. It's
Yeah.
when you see yourself on camera, it's like I want to wear makeup sometimes now, but I'm not. I'm not going to do that because
You look good, man.
what's
Like I'm
more,
like
you know?
like I look like a freaking red-nosed atheist.
All righty. Okay. So on that note, literally on that note, you want to do a high C? No, we want to do a high C here.
What's that?
I like your guitars behind you, by the way. They look really cool. There's some
Thank you.
cool guitars, everyone.
I don't think you owned any of those.
Nope.
Nope.
I don't think so.
I have an amp
Not
behind the
those.
curtain.
I have owned like the one of them behind you, but
I've
not
had that. I've had that
particular one.
telly long. I've had that telly longer than I've known you.
Yeah,
That's a long time.
that your ex-girlfriend bought you that telly. Remember?
That's right. Yeah,
Tammy Telly.
that's right.
If you're watching, Tammy, thanks, Mark. Thanks you for the telly.
I'll tag her on it.
All righty. Well, thank you, Mark, for coming on the show, and we'll do this again. We'll find. I know we were talking about a couple of other things. We were arguing about the CDC article and should Biden run for president again? That's another.
Oh yeah, we got a bunch of stuff we need to talk about.
Subject. So anyway, thank you for coming, and I'll see you. Well, we'll talk to each other and see each other soon. And thank you again. Thanks again. Thank you everybody for watching. I'll be back again tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. bright and sharp and early with a different T-shirt on. Hopefully, maybe a different. Maybe I won't have a Star Wars or Star Trek T-shirt on this time. But maybe like a music T-shirt, Led Zeppelin. So.
You gotta get a Rabbinic Cynic T-shirt.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I thought of it myself.
I'm going to do that. Yeah, maybe a hat as well. Kind of like
there
shiny.
There you go. There you go.
All right, bro.
All right, man. I'll see you.
Live long and prosper.
The satanic Delio.
There you go. Take care, man.
See you, man.
Bye. Bye, everybody.